We as teachers can sometimes do more damage than we do good. But if you are finding yourself leaving the lesson having paid that teacher $50, $60, $70, $100 sometimes, what you need to stop and have a discussion with yourself is this the teacher for me? And then go through these things and go, is it there? And if they're not ticking the box, if they have like one of the things I've talked about and none of the others, you need to go find yourself another teacher that may not be the teacher for you. This is a really fun question, one that's near and dear to my heart. As a drum teacher, I've been playing professionally for many, many years, but I've been a drum teacher for so many years, and it's just part of what I do. I think playing and teaching are just as important in my life, and one benefits the other. And a question I get a lot is, how do I know what to look for in a drum teacher? I get the question about, hey, I'm not so sure about this drum teacher. What do you think about this drum teacher? What do you, there's a lot of that, because I teach online, right? But I have a lot of my students that also go to in-person teachers, or maybe they're just people that have contacted me online. They say, hey, what about this teacher? Do you know anything about him? How do I know? What am I supposed to be looking for? Maybe you're new to learning. When you're new to learning an instrument, you don't know what you don't know. And so in this episode of the Drum Show podcast, we are going to be talking about things you can look for in a teacher to know that you have a quality teacher, right? Things that you can see. And the thing that I'm going to be not talking about, because to me this needs to be a given, is that they can play the drums, that they're a competent drummer. You need to have that out of the way. You need to have already they're a competent drummer. I've heard them play. They're really good. I would love to learn from them. And at that point, then these other things start to come into play. And I want everyone to know I love every drum teacher, anybody that's putting the time in to do that. But at the same time, I do hold a standard for drum teachers, and I think that we need to deliver, and I think we have a responsibility. And I think sometimes as teachers can do more harm than they do good, and I don't want that to see that in your drumming or anything in your life. My son had a particular bass teacher that just he was doing good. He was hanging in there. He was learning a song. And then he had a little trouble on a part of the song. And instead of changing the song a little bit and kind of reworking that, he said, okay, let's just skip this song. We're going to move to another one. And what happened is he quit mid-process. And all that work that my son had put in, he felt like it was for nothing. And what happened? He quit. He said, I don't want to do this anymore. What he needed was that win. He needed to see through. He needed to stick to it. Hey, let's figure out a way to do this. Hey, that's awesome. He was right there at the end of the finish line. We had to give him that win and didn't get it. And he's like, I'm done with this. He was deflated. He's like, I don't want to do this. I put a lot of work into that. I'm done. So we as teachers can sometimes do more damage than we do good. And I don't want that for you. So here's some things you can look for. So once we're beyond the thing of they're a competent player, I've heard them play, I know that they can play. Okay. Moving on, the first thing that I would be looking for is I want them to have some kind of a clear assessment of you, of your likes, of your abilities, of you as an individual player. So oftentimes when you come into the drum lesson, it is not wasted time when that teacher is talking to you. What they're trying to do is they're trying to learn a little bit about you. They're trying to learn a little bit about your life, what your home life like, what your responsibilities like, how much available time do you have, what's your personality like, how do you learn? All those things we find out from talking to you and discovering those things about you. What is your personality type? I have some students that are very emotional learners, and some that are very analytical learners, and some that almost have no emotion at all. Some that are very ADHD about their learning process. Some that are visual learners. I've worked with dyslexic drummers who have a lot of trouble with sheet music, and so we focus on what they can hear. We focus on what they can see in a video instead of trying to read something. And so there's all different kinds of ways that talking before a drum lesson, during a drum lesson, just becoming a friend with that teacher can really benefit that teacher in helping them to understand where you are as well. I want them to do some kind of assessment with you and your playing. So, hey, send me a video. Let me see where that's at. Or, hey, can you sit down and play something for me? Or, hey, how long you been taking? What you've been working through? All of those are ways that we as teachers are able to assess where you are. And then I'm going to ask about music, like what kind of music you like. What are you into? What do you, because that informs me of which direction I'm going to be going, because I always want you learning songs. We just released a new song section in the members area on my online drum school, and it utilizes Sound Slice, and so we can, really hone in on the song, and it goes along with the sheet music and can really help you learn things. I'm a firm believer we should always be working on music in our practice time, in some portion of our practice time. And so I'm going to want to find out, hey, what music are you into? What can I don't want to give you a song that you hate. I want to give you a song you like. And that just, oh, okay. They're into, whatever, punk. They're into metal. They're into funk. They're into old country. I've got students that run the gamut right now that are into different things. And so I want to be able to deliver a song that they can play on their level in the genre that they really enjoy. Okay, another thing from a teacher that I'm wanting to see is clear goals. Where are we going? I want you to understand where you're going. Even if it's just a small discussion, hey, this is where I want to go with your plan, that gives you the North Star to go towards. Even on your dark days, whenever it's like, I don't want to practice, I'm not seeing any progress, you can go, well, we're moving towards that. It can be a song. It can be, you can have, if the younger the student is, the more the reward systems I set up. So if I'm teaching a 6 or 7 year old, there's a lot of, reward systems set up. Sometimes if you're teaching a very young one and you're a drum teacher, sometimes after the rewards happen in every lesson. That's why kindergarten teachers keep a treasure box. That's why, when my wife's teaching our kids, when they're young, pre-K, kindergarten, first, second grade, there is a treasure box. They're working towards that. They get stars. You can have a star system for the students if they're very young. The older they get, the less they need. But even 40-year-old students, 50, 60-year-old students, they need a North Star, and they actually need to know they're making progress. They need things that they can mark off and see, yes, I've done that, okay? So we need those clear goals from a teacher. Another thing we need is a clear plan to reach the goals. I just don't want to give you the goals like, here you go. I'm going to go, okay, we're working on this and this and this, and that's going to get us towards that thing. And these discussions don't have to be long, but if you find yourself going in for every lesson, and you laugh, but I've had these discussions. Yeah, when I go in, my teacher's like, well, what do you want to work on today? And it's like, no. I'm sorry, that's not a question I'm going to give you unless it's like, hey, we're kind of at a fork. You want to spend more time on this week, or would you rather do this? Oh, this, great, let's move in that direction. Not a problem. But either way, I just made the choice. I just kind of gave you what we're going to do, right? Your teacher doesn't need to be asking you, what do you want to work on? That is not something that is beneficial to you as a student, and really just instills in you that they don't know where they're going. And that instills what you're wanting from a teacher. I did personal training for 6 or 7 years while I came off the road and started the business I have. I wanted, I have a family, so we got to eat. And so I did that to take some pressure off my playing so that I could build my online drum school, those things. And I found that what they wanted from me was the assurance that they were doing the right thing. They wanted to come in, maybe they're a lawyer, a doctor, a teacher, they have a stressful job. They wanted to come in because they're always like, hey, you need to go work out. So all they were responsible for was getting to the gym. If they got to the gym, I had the workout plan, I had the goals, I was going to measure things, like I was doing all that. And what they needed was the trust that, no, my trainer keeps track of all that. Your drum teacher keeps track of all that, right? And what happens whenever you don't have those clear goals and you don't have a clear plan to reach those goals is down here, you start getting this catch and you're like, do they know what they're doing? Where am I going? What's happening here? Like every time I come in, they ask me what I want to play. And then every time I come in, we're working on a different thing and none of it seem related. Or every time I come in, they just give me a couple measures to a song and it's kind of just random. This is not a good system for learning really anything. So what you're looking for as a student, I'll go ahead and tell you, is you're looking for that reassurance that you're on the right path, that you're going to hit those goals, and that you're going to get to where you want to go. And this is the person that can get you there. That's what you want. And if you have that, you'll show up at that lesson every week and you'll go to battle for that teacher. The other thing you want is accountability. And so that's that, bi-weekly meeting with that teacher, and they're not just moving to a new thing. The accountability is, okay, let's take out what we were working on last week. You're looking at your homework. Going through, checking that homework. And you may not have to play it all, but okay, hey, can you play a few measures of that? Got it. Okay, cool. Good job on that. Fix this and this. So they're giving you some feedback. They're giving you some attaboys or attagirls, and then they're moving you on to the next thing. That's that accountability that you're looking for. As well, that accountability that you're going to have to meet with that person. Sometimes that's enough just to get you in the practice room. So that's another important one. You want some tough love from a teacher. If you have a teacher that's, oh, you don't like working on that, okay, let's go something else. Oh, well, yeah, it's not so great, but that's okay. Good effort. Good. Look, I want to give you all the compliments in the world and the kudos, but come on, do the work. I'm going to hold your feet to the fire. That's, and I'm not going to tiptoe around just because you might get your feelings hurt if I say, hey, that really wasn't clean. That actually sounded pretty bad. Let's do it again. And I try to focus not on good or bad. I try to focus on quality. And so I'll say, I'm not really hearing what I want to hear there, or I'll give a specific, hey, when you're hitting that second kick drum note on the of one, you are a little ahead of the beat. Try to fix that, and then we run through it. And I give them those examples. So I'm trying to hold their feet to the fire, if you will, and give them a little bit of tough love. This podcast is brought to you by the Drum Better Daily program. That's actually my online drum school that I've run now for 12 plus years. Not only have I been playing the drums professionally since the age of 15, I've been teaching since the age of 18. Matter of fact, I talked to one of my, my first student a few days ago. I actually called him to see if he could sub a gig out for me. Daniel, love you, man. And he's still playing. He's still doing it on a pro level. I would love to have you go check it out at stevensdrumshed.com. You can find a link to that in the show notes or video description, whichever platform you're watching it on. But it truly is a community of like-minded drummers where we are striving to just be the best that we can be at the drums. In addition to over 70 pre-recorded drum courses, there's also a tech talk area where we talk about everything technology related as it pertains to the drums, e-kits, recording, doing videos, all of that stuff. There are forums where you can hang out with the other students as well. We do 2 live video student calls every week that you can join if you'd like to. We do guest artist calls monthly, and I'll even make you a personalized lesson plan if that's what you need. Yes, we talk about the nuts and bolts of drumming. Yes, I give you exercises, but we also talk a lot about how to practice more efficiently, how to practice better, and how to get more out of your practice time. I know you're just like me. You're busy, you're being pulled by work, by family, by friends, by other responsibilities. Whenever you practice, you really want to see gains and have it be productive. That is what we focus on in the Drum Better Daily program. I'll have to say personally, it's been really cool because some of these students I've worked with for over 12 years, we started running drum camps last year in 2022, and I got to meet some of them in person for the first time. Those drum camps have been selling out. They've been just blowing my mind with how much fun they are and how great a time it is to bring the community together in person. A community that was started online and has been going online strong now for over 12 years. I'd love to have you be a part of it. I build them up. I tell them good job. But at the end, it's like, hey, yeah, this isn't going well. We need to put some more time into that. Hey, you're not getting better because you're not putting the time in, or you're not getting better because you're jamming to songs all the time and you're not focusing on the things that we wanted to focus on. Nothing wrong with jamming to songs. But again, in my practice time, I want some order and structure. So if I'm going to jam to songs, I want to say, okay, from 9 to 9:45, I'm working on lesson material. 9:45 to 10:45, I'm jamming. Great. We made a plan. We stuck to it. That's totally fine. You just want to mean what you say and say what you mean, and work on that plan that you and that teacher have developed together. You want them to keep high standards of you. You want them to expect a lot, and that kind of comes with that tough love, is having standards for you and having standards for their students. I'll give you a real good example of this. My first drum teacher, long-term drum teacher, Henrique de Almeida, he was a grad assistant, a grad student at the University of Southern Mississippi under Dr. John Wooten. He had already been around the world touring and playing, and he was going back and finishing up his schooling. He's taught at Berkeley now, like incredible teacher. And I came in, and a piano player friend of mine that played a lot of gigs with him asked him if he'd do a favor and teach this 14-year-old kid. And I came in my first lesson, I don't even know if there was a hello. He looked at me and he said, look, I don't usually teach high school students. I'm doing this as a favor to Joseph Britton. So if you don't practice, you're out. And I was just like, okay, my name's Steven. It set me on my heels. But immediately, boom, this was the standard. Now you may not want it to be that aggressive, but that was this standard. And he's like, and if you're not going to do that, I got plenty to do, and I do not have time to waste on this. And so from that moment, I was like, I don't want to lose this teacher. Man, I worked my butt off to keep that teacher because he set a standard for me and had that tough love and that tough conversation up front of like, I expect this from you. You need to deliver or you're wasting my time and your time. And that didn't offend me at all. As a matter of fact, it lit a fire on me. I wanted to rise to the level that he wanted me to play at. So that's an important thing for teachers. You want to be organized in their approach. If you're showing up every week and they're jumping to a different topic, or hey, what did we work on? Or hey, we need an organized thing. And then when they tell you, hey, we're going to work on this week, when you come back next week, we'll move to this. And then what they're doing is they're taking what they wrote down for you the last week. Okay, let's review that. Got it. Okay, this is where we are. Here's where we're going. Good, you did that. And it's immediate the next thing. And they have an organized system that they kind of work you through things. A teacher that is disorganized is a teacher that is not teaching at their full capacity or ability. And so you as a student want to go in and be able to feel like you are, again, we go back to that thing. You're wanting to show up there and feel like they have clear goals for you, a clear plan. They're organized to get you there. They're going to give you that tough love, hold you accountable, and set standards that you can rise to. That is what you are wanting from a teacher. Another thing is a comprehensive approach in the lessons. So there are 4 areas that I always want to be working on in my own and my students' practice time. Music, first and foremost. I'll always put music first. Okay, I want you always working on some song, some type of music, some type of exercise that's getting you to a song, whatever that looks like. Music needs to be a part of practice time. The second one is your groove. We need to be working on your timing and your groove. I have something called the Big 7, and those are 7 big picture principles that you can use in any exercise to work on things. Timing, groove, articulation, dynamics, technique, melody, and flow. Those are the 7 things, and I've done podcasts on those things, so you can go back and listen to those. The students in my online drum school, which, by the way, if you're interested in learning more about that, there is a link in the show notes and the video description if you're watching this on YouTube. So you can go get information about that. I've got a 14-day free trial. I would love to have you be a part of it. I do weekly live calls with my students, and so I'd love to have you be a part of that. There's also some free resources linked down there, too, that you can use for double strokes and single strokes, those kinds of things. I talk about the Big 7. I've talked about it on podcasts. I teach these to my students all the time. And so I'm always wanting to work on music. The second thing is I'm always wanting to work on groove and timing. I'm wanting exercises that help us focus on that are groove based. So we're working on our facility within the beat, because we spend 98% of our time, if not more, keeping time. That's what we do. The third thing is coordination, chops, independence, interdependence, whatever you want to call that. So that's going to be hand and foot studies, right, left, kick, right, kick, linear studies, drum fills, working on concepts with rolls, rudiments, those types of things. And the fourth place is technique. Now, technique is something that you'll kind of focus on hardcore at first to get those techniques. And then as you go, once you've been playing, maybe say as long as I have, it's something you revisit and you're constantly looking back at it and maybe working on it a little bit, but it's always kind of constantly back of mind. Am I playing this with the technique that I need to play it to make it easy for myself? So that's another thing that I like to see from a teacher, is a comprehensive approach. Now, there have been times when I have spent, so let's say I have a student come in and they say, hey, look, this is a stress reliever for me. I don't want it to get stressful. I want to have fun. I want to play the songs that I love. Okay, cool. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a song-based program for that person, where we have a song we're working on, and in that we have the grooves we're working on for the song, and in that we have the coordination and fills within that, so that we're working on. And the other thing we'll be working on is I'll sneak in there, hey, your technique, like, it's hard to play that because you're not really playing with it, and so we'll adjust technique. So to me, I don't change that I'm focusing on those things. I change how I approach it, and we're not going to put as much pressure on that person in their practice time, because this is a fun. It's just, they're not doing it for their food, right? They're not doing it to support 3 kids and a wife. They're doing it simply for fun, as a stress reliever. And then the last one seems intuitive, but so many people I have a conversation, they're like, I really don't like this teacher. You need to like your teacher. You don't have to love them. They don't have to be somebody you want to hang out with on a Friday night. You don't have to want to marry them, but you gotta like them to a point. Respect them sometime. Maybe that like and respect go hand in hand. I've got teachers that I didn't necessarily like on a personal level, but I respected them so much that it was very close to like. So that respect like was so close, it's like, okay, I'm going to put in the work to learn from this person. But as far as like, do I want to hang out with that person at dinner? I really don't, And then a lot of my teachers, I did want to do that. So the last one seems intuitive, but it's oftentimes not. You need to like your teacher. But if you are finding yourself leaving the lesson having paid that teacher $50, $60, $70, $100 sometimes for their time, what you need to stop and have a discussion with yourself is this the teacher for me? And then go through these things and go, is it there? And if they're not ticking the box, if they have like one of the things I've talked about and none of the others, you need to go find yourself another teacher. That may not be the teacher for you. And maybe it will be. And sometimes it's a conversation you can have with that teacher. And if it's a good teacher, they'll go, you know what, you're right, let's change this. If it's not, it's like, this is the way I teach. You can say, okay, cool, that's good to know. And then you go find a teacher that you can learn from. So again, if you ever need any help with your drumming, follow links below. I'd love to have you be a part of the Drum Better Daily program. The online campus is stock full of lessons and play-alongs and song breakdowns and live calls. I'd love to have you be in there. And as well, there's some free resources. But whatever you do, practice this week, and I'll see you here in the next episode.